Hello! So today we are going to be doing my biannual haul. I imagine that this will be the meatier one of my two hauls this year because I am putting myself on a low buy. So really, I've started doing my hauls as basically TBR ads. So if I get a book and read it between hauls, you won't see it in one of these videos. You will only see books in this video that I have bought, added to my TBR, and not read by the time the next TBR video rolls around. So it really is like my net TBR additions from the last 6 months. And since I'm putting myself on a low buy, I imagine the one that's later this year will not have much on it. I hope. Maybe I don't even need to do one. Wouldn't that be amazing? Wouldn't that be great? We'll see. But this one is all of the books that I have purchased, added to my TBR, and not read in physical form since I think July of last year. And I haven't finished doing my roundup of them just for technical and timing issues. I'm filming this haul and an unhaul kind of in pieces this time. So I'm not sure how many books there are, but if I were guessing, geez, I don't know. I feel like I've been doing a better job of staying on top of my pre-orders. I have gotten a bunch of research-related books, but I feel like I'm doing a pretty good job of reading those as they come in. So I honestly don't know. Future Mara will do the numbers and we will talk about that, but enjoy this slightly unusual haul video, and I'll check in with you before I say goodbye. So let's start with some stats because I am trying to, read down my TBR. So what am I doing? Bringing things in. First of all, you can see that in the last haul, which was for February to July of 2025, that was when I started realizing, like, I think that my goal to bring in fewer books is not working because I'm going in the wrong direction. So that's part of why I'm on my current read down project, was the findings from this this video in particular. So I did do better from August to December. You will see that most of the books that are in this haul I have a plan for in terms of reading. So that feels good. We're trending back down, and hopefully that will continue in the next haul for the first half of this year. Okay, so this is kind of confusing, but for this February to July 2024 stat, there are 11 books in there. What that means is that by the time I did the next haul, of the 43 books I hauled from February to July of 2024, I had read 11 by the time I did the August 24 to January 2025 haul. So essentially, this is measuring how many of the books am I reading in the 6 months between hauls. So you can see I am improving. I read more of my last haul this time than I had the previous two. So again, this is one that I'm hoping, I guess opposite of the last chart we looked at, I'm hoping that will continue downwards in its trending. This is one I'm hoping will continue upwards in its trending, which means that I'm not letting things sit in my TBR for a super long time after I haul them. That's the goal. Okay, and then this last one is the percentage view of what we were just talking about. So you can see that that is trending in the right direction, that I want to continue to go up. I started out having read a quarter of them by the next haul, then I was at 35%, and this time I was at 42%. So I'm nearly half of what I hauled last time I've already read. So in an ideal world, this would be, I don't know, probably in the 80s or 90s, but we're making progress and we're getting there. And that's what's important, is progress. And then transitioning into the haul itself. So the first group of books are kind of random books. These include pre-orders, things that I bought because I was in an independent bookstore and I always buy something, or just something that struck my fancy. So this is one that struck my fancy. I've been reading a lot of nonfiction that has been referencing Du Bois recently, and I loved Reconstruction in America, Black Reconstruction in America. That's one of my favorite books ever. So I want to get around to reading all of his books eventually. So I got a nice little bind up there. The next one is a pre-order. This is the latest from Yokomizo from Pushkin Press. They have been translating this series of Japanese classic mysteries, and this was the latest one. I pre-ordered it. I have it, and I'm going to do a little binge of that series soon. I'm hoping in the next couple of months. I also pre-ordered This Way Up by Mark Cooper Jones and Jay Foreman. I really enjoyed their YouTube channel about geography, and so I'm excited to see what a book from them is going to be like. Then we have How to Survive a Horror Story by Mallory Arnold. This is one I believe I picked up because I was in a bookstore, and it was like on their recommended table, so I thought I would take their recommendations. I'm hoping it's going to be kind of an isolation horror trope kind of thing. All of Us Murderers by KJ Charles. I have enjoyed KJ Charles in the past. This is kind of like a retro mystery romance, I think. And I saw a good buzz for it last year when it was coming out. So I am hopeful that this is going to be one that I really enjoy. No definite plans to read it, but when I'm in the mood for it, it's there. Then we're going to take a grim turn here and haul People in Auschwitz by Erman Langbaum, I believe, or Langbein is the author. This is a classic historical nonfiction book that I have had recommended to me several times. I picked it up, and I don't think it will be fun, but I think it will be edifying. And then another grim one, The 30 Years' War by C.V. Wedgwood of the Wedgwood family. I believe she was a historian in the 30s, and this is like one of the classic works on this particular war. If you've never read about the 30 Years' War, I feel like it's kind of slept on, at least in U.S. history, like when they're teaching us history, but this is basically the First World War in some ways, at least the first like all Europe war. And it was bad, real bad, bad. So that is another history one that I'm looking forward to getting to eventually. And then we're going to transition into books that are going to be in vlogs. So you should be seeing these sometime in the next year in one vlog or another. The Hearth Witch's Guide to Magic and Murder by Kiri Callaghan. This is one that I picked up on vacation in a independent bookstore that I loved. I really enjoyed that bookstore. And this is from Poison Pen Press, which is a mystery press, but it's a cozy fantasy. So I'm intrigued to see what they do with cozy fantasy and mystery, like mystery romance, all of that together. I'm intrigued to see what that is going to be like. The Man Who Died 7 Times. This is one that I've seen a lot of places recently. I think it just came out in translation here in the States from Japanese. This was in some bookstore I was in and it sounded good. So you'll be seeing that when I get around to my next Japanese mystery thriller horror vlog. This is one that is a collection of writings by Angela Davis. I've really enjoyed the book that I've already read from her. This is, I think, a collection of sort of just different political writings from her and her like compatriots back in the civil rights era. A Moon Will Rise from Darkness is by Francesca Albanese, and she is the special delegate from the UN to Palestine, and this is her report about what has been going on. This is going to be a very tough read, I know, but an important and edifying one as well. And then the last one you'll see in a vlog is Worn by Sophie Thenhauser. This I got on the same trip as the Angela Davis and the Hearth Witch one. This is going to be in a vlog that I've already started working on, but it'll take me a while this year to get through it. But this is about different. This is basically a history of different textiles. And one of you picked this up because I had mentioned this in that vlog, and I forget who it was, but somebody told me they'd already read this and said that they thought I was really going to enjoy it. Okay, and then the rest of the books in this video are books that are related to different writing projects that I've got going on. I've got 3 or 4 going right now. You will definitely see some themes here, and theoretically, most, if not all of these should get read this year. So these shouldn't be staying on my TBR for too long, but we'll see how that goes. So we've got Above the Clouds, which is a compilation of Anatoly Bukharev's diary. This one came out after The Climb, and I think that it probably has a little bit more distance from this 96 disaster. So I've heard it's interesting. It was hard to get a copy of it, but I did track down a used one. And then I have Alpine Rising, Sherpas, Baltis, and the Triumph of Local Climbers in the Great Ranges. This is talking about local climbing cultures in the Karakoram, the Himalayas. Essentially, there's a lot of spotlighting on Western climbers, but less so on the locals who make those climbs possible. Then we have The Craft of Research. This is a standard reference book. I don't know if I actually should have even included this because I'm not sure how much I don't know that I'm going to read this cover to cover, but it is a reference book that I wanted to have because I have some things I'm trying to suss out about the standards of nonfiction writing. The Ship of Dreams is by Gareth Russell, and this is a historian I have enjoyed on YouTube, and I also picked this up on that trip I was referencing earlier. This is about the Titanic, and specifically about how the sinking of the Titanic is tied to the end of the Edwardian era. I've seen it recommended several times, so I'm excited for that one. History in Flames by Robert Bartlett. This is about destruction and survival of medieval manuscripts. This is like a book about books and a book specifically about medieval books, and I think that will be a good one. Then Convent Wisdom, How 16th Century Nuns Could Save Your 21st Century Life. This was on display at one of my local bookstores when I was in there for book club, and I was like, this is so on topic for things that I'm researching. I gotta get it. I love this cover. It's very relevant to what I'm thinking about right now and with respect to the medieval period, so I think that'll be a fun one. And then historiography, ancient, medieval, and modern. This is one specifically that I'm interested in from the medieval component, but just in general, if you've been watching the channel, you know I've been thinking a lot about historiography in the last year. Then history through material culture. This is specifically talking about reading, quote unquote, material culture items as opposed to written texts to learn about history. I'm always intrigued about how archaeologists do that, so I'm excited to read something specifically covering that as a discipline. The Inheritance of Rome. This is one that I've seen several times recommended for sort of early medieval history, the transition out of Rome into the quote-unquote Dark Ages. So this is sort of like an overall text about that to get an overview of that period. And then we have the Zorg. This is one that just came out last year, and I've specifically been avoiding videos about the Zorg because I knew this was coming out. I believe that the Zorg was a ship filled with enslaved people, and I believe that the shipwreck / disaster related to this was key to abolitionist movements, but other than that, I don't know, and I'm intrigued to learn more about it. Then we have Unruly by David Mitchell. This is, he's a British comedian who I find very funny whenever I see him on stuff. And he has a book about the different kings and queens of England. I thought this might be just sort of a fun overall reference type book for medieval history. The Will to Climb by Ed Viesturs. This is no, there's one other Ed Viesturs I do want to read. This is specifically about his time climbing Annapurna. And I believe he also gets into some of the history of other climbs of Annapurna. So kind of like a tangential book for me, but one I thought would add some nice layers. How to Read Nonfiction Like a Professor by Thomas Foster. I really enjoyed his How to Read a Novel Like a Professor back in the day. So I thought this might be just a good sort of primer about the state of how nonfiction is taught in universities right now, just to get a sense of what the standards are like. Britain After Rome is that same time period, the kind of early medieval time period, but specifically in Britain as opposed to sort of an overview. Again, I saw this recommended a few places for people who are interested in this time period. And then Meetings with Remarkable Manuscripts. This is, I think, the last one I got on that vacation. And this I just think is going to be, it's very relevant to the project I have in mind, but it's essentially talking about manuscripts as material culture as opposed to just what they say from a medieval historical time period. And I just think that will be lovely and very on point for me. And then the last book is The Elements of Journalism by Kovac and Rosenstiel. Yeah, another one of, I'm just trying to kind of get a sense, like a general baseline sense of the standards of journalism and reporting right now, what's considered to be kind of standard practice. And yeah, here are all the books. There were 28 of them in this haul. And like I said, I'm hopeful that this one, I should have read a lot of these by the time we get to my next haul. So with that, I'll send you back to past Mara.
Okay, that was the haul video. Wasn't it great? I think so. Since future Mara is going to have to do most of the work for it, I assume she did a great job. Yeah, so like I said, hopefully I may not even need to do another one of these this year. That would be amazing if I have so few books that I have added to my TBR but not read that I don't even need to do one until this time next year. That would be amazing. So we'll see if that happens. But if not, I will see you. If I am not that successful, I will see you in the middle of the year to do another TBR edition roundup. And let me know what you thought about any of the books I talked about. Let me know if you think I'm going to love or hate any of them. And yeah, I hope you're starting your year off wonderfully. Take care of yourself and your community. And we will just talk soon. Bye.